Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. So, Halloween is coming up, so we got a few weeks to Halloween. So every Thursday, I'm going to try to review a kind of Halloween, kind of creepy horror, whatever movie. It may be like movies that I think just kind of go align with the season, or they're actually a horror movie, or they're a dark comedy, whatever I decide. And the first one I decided to go with was Beetlejuice, because I got this in beautiful 4K with this beautiful slipcover. Actually, this just came out recently in 4K. And so I was like, yeah, let's review Beetlejuice, because something I've never talked about on this channel, and I should probably do a Burton appreciation video, is my love for Burton. Tim Burton is a director that a lot of people love, and I understand why. I don't love him. I used to. You see, when I was younger, I was into kind of darker things. There's always those kids who are they're just average kids. They're just into whatever. And then there's kids like me where they're into horror and messed up crap, and just weird, crazy stuff. So I was that kid. I think we all knew of that kid. But, so, I was into Nightmare Before Christmas. Side note, that film is not a movie I'm going to be reviewing at this Halloween season. I consider that more of a Christmas movie. So I'll be talking about that at Christmas. Also, it's a Henry Selick film. He directed the film. He's the director of Coraline, James and Giant Peach. He did not direct that film. But I didn't know the difference, because everyone thinks he directed that movie, which Burton directed that movie, which is really sad. The actual director who directed the film does not get the credit for the film that he made, which is really, really sad. But it's a fantastic movie. I watched that movie in constant repeat. As soon as it was over, I'd pop it back in and watch the movie over and over again. I was obsessed with Burton. I watched all of his films, every single one of them. And that's when I realized, when I started getting to his other films, yeah, Burton is not a good director. Now, I'm not going to be like, oh man, he didn't make a good film. He made plenty of good movies, but the problem is he's like George Lucas. He has a distinct style for visual effects and not much else. And so that's why his older work is better, because he had people telling him, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that, because there was somebody who was pulling the rope and going, hey, stop, you're going a little bit too far. And that's why George Lucas' worst stuff is the prequels. Because he was a director who was given too much freedom and couldn't tell a good story. He had a good idea for a story, but the way he went about it was terrible in those movies. And that's the way I feel about Burton too. He is a good director, but he's more into the visual effects, and someone else should direct his ideas and make them come to fruition. Why do you think Empire Strikes Back, not A New Hope, because he did direct that one, but that's still a good movie, but like Return of the Jedi, Empire, all great movies, even though I don't like Return of the Jedi that much. I think it has way too many issues. He's able to take what works about his films, and he makes them come together and come alive. And those, because they were all directed by people who weren't George, and so they're better because of that. I mean, we consider Empire the best, and it's the one he had the least involvement in, right? So that's what I feel about Burton. I still have an appreciation. He formed my taste in movies when I was younger. He kind of got me into looking into kind of darker, more horror things. And it started with Beetlejuice. This film is incredible. I may play it up I'm not too into Burton, because I'm not. I have a few of his movies. I have an appreciation for the guy. He did great stuff. But this is his best movie to me. Some of you might argue, say Edward Scissorhands and other stuff, but I would say no. I'd say this is his best movie. It's his best directed movie. Um, it's his most unique, and this is the one where his style comes into play, because this dark, twisted comedy with Michael Keaton, who, I mean, coming off Batman, or did this come out before Batman? Whatever. He was Batman at one point, and then he's in Beetlejuice, and he's incredible in Beetlejuice. Like, he's such a wide range of acting chops this actor has. Michael Keaton is incredible. I love him in this movie. He's hilarious. He does everything that character is supposed to do. The film is constantly visually interesting. The cinematography from the special effects, which a lot of it was stop motion, but this was like incredibly impressive special effects back in the day. But like, this film still looks real. Like, these effects still look real to me. I'm sure there's a few that are like, but not enough to where it's really noticeable. And even the ones that are still pretty dang good. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, this film's incredible. It's well paced, it's funny, it's interesting, it always keeps you engaged. You kind of got this dark sense of humor, which always remains funny. I mean, just from the lady that has that smoke come out of her neck, from Beetlejuice, everything he says, from kind of the twisted special effects and ideas, just everything about this film is constantly funny. And kind of the premise of this movie about these people who are dying, or they die in the first scene, so it's not a spoiler. And these people trying to move into their house that they live in, and then trying to scare them off, and then they have to hire like a poltergeist, Beetlejuice, to do that. It's such a crazy premise, but it leads to so much fun. This movie is incredibly fun, and I don't like to say that word in reviews very much, because just frankly, I think fun is a overused term for films and why they're good. If a movie's fun, that doesn't mean anything, right? Because someone could tell you the Transformers movies are fun, but they're not good, right? And so I try to steer away from that. But that's the only way to really describe the energy of this film. It's constantly exciting. It's constantly goofing around. And yeah, I absolutely love everything about this movie, especially that ending. I always laugh at that ending. I love Beetlejuice. It's one of the best Burton films. I think the best. Some may argue and say Edward Scissorhands, which we'll get to that one when we get to that one. But I got some things to say about Edward. And I don't mean that like in a mean way. I just have some things to say about that film. But I think this is a good one that if you haven't seen this Halloween season, this one's a fun one to check out this season. One of my favorite films ever made.